Daniela, can you hear us?
You gotta show your face.
Yes, we can.
Show your face, girl. Daniela. Don't have me to text you.
There she is. Hello.
Hey.
She's in the car.
Welcome to meetings in the 21st century.
Thanks
This
to
is
you.
great. I think this is our first oral history project that's been transcontinental here on our in our series, so I'm really excited for it. Okay, and everybody can hear us okay? Okay, very cool.
Tiffany, you want to sit over here? I'm fine. I mean, you were a mayor. I wasn't.
I'm fine. The mayor's
Hi,
daughter.
I'm Nancy.
Hi, I'm Linda Payne.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
You are a mayor's daughter.
I'm a mayor's daughter.
You're mayor by
Represent
proxy.
my mother.
You put up with it, like the rest of us.
Oh, boy, how did I put up? Actually, part of my time I didn't, because I didn't live here. She became mayor when I was in college, so.
Huh?
Oh, there's my phone. I got the questions on my phone here.
You know, I got.
Oh,
that's
yeah,
what my phone
questions.
is.
Oh, you got it printed out?
I
Okay, great.
Yeah,
Yeah, I did. I brought a
I
print
got
out
it
too. I don't trust that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it can be dicey. You just go away. All right. One more moment. So I figured the way we could do this is, I'll introduce the program and then we'll just kind of go like around the room for myself. So we'll go around the room here and then hit everybody up that's on Zoom right there. Oh, someone else coming in. So cool. Got people coming in online. Very nice. If anybody can't hear us, we could turn up this speaker, so that might make it a little bit better. Okay, so I'm going to stand here for prosperity, I guess, and prosterity's thing. I'm getting all that wrong. Hello, everybody. I'm the historian for the Banning Library. Thank you very much for joining us today. This is our 14th oral history project, which is investigating important lives. Hey, Jamie. We have our Record Gazette reporter just walked in. All right, so this is our 14th oral history presentation. This is investigating important places and people inside of the past area. And so we have today celebrating Women's History Month, people that have run for office that have become lady mayors of Banning and Beaumont, and also the daughter that represented the first female mayor of Banning. So I just want to thank all of you for sharing your day with us. Thank you so much for coming and sharing your stories, including those online. So we have folks from New York and from Tennessee joining us today as well. So thank you all very much for not only your service to the two cities, but also to our public history here as well. So thank you very much. And so, yeah, absolutely. All right, so these are very general questions, and we'll go around the room and introduce everybody so that we can get to know each other. Not that we don't, but that way it'll be recorded for folks that might see this later. So I'll start here with, or we'll go here and then go there. All right, I'm gonna start here with Debbie.
Hello, everyone.
Hey.
My name is Debbie Franklin. I was elected to the city council in 2006, mayor 2013 through 2016, and this is in the city of Banning.
Great, nice.
Good evening, everyone. Whoop, whoop. You know I got to do the whoop, whoop. I was elected in 2018. In 2020, I was elected mayor pro tem. In 2021, I was elected mayor, and in 2022, I'm elected mayor pro tem again.
Awesome. I've never been there.
I'm Nancy Carroll from the city of Beaumont. I first was treasurer for the city of Beaumont, then in 2014, and then I moved to council in 2016, and I was mayor in 2018, and I thank you for allowing me to be here today. I appreciate being in this room with everyone.
All right.
Hello, I was not a mayor, but I was the daughter of the mayor. Brigida Page, and she was appointed in 1975. She became mayor in 1976, from 76 to 80, and then again from 82 to 84. So she passed away in 2013, so that's why I'm here representing her.
Great. All right. All right, so we'll go online. Let's see, I'll kind of go basically alphabetically. Barbara, do you want to go ahead?
Barbara's before Daniela.
Oh, maybe not.
Barbara, by
That's
first
right,
name.
my last name, that's true. Yeah.
Okay. Barbara Hanna. I was first elected to the Banning City Council in 1986. I was mayor approximately 1988 to 90. Then I was off the council. I was appointed to the council in 2012. Was elected in 2014 and 2018. It's, you know, really hard to keep track of this. And I was mayor somewhere in there. So, what was that 20? I don't know.
All right. Sorry, you skipped Daniela. Daniela, do you want to go ahead?
So my name is Daniela Andrade. I was elected to council in 2016 and was mayor pro tem in 2019 and then the mayor in 2020.
All right. And Brenda.
Yes, hello. My name is Brenda Salas Freeman, and I was elected in 2000 to the city council and mayor from 2006 to 2008. And I served 8 years total on the council, 2000 to 2008.
All right. Still line ahead. Absolutely. Thank you for serving. Okay, so I'll start with Debbie again. So we'll go around and I will ask our first question. Tell us about your first time when you ran and why did you consider running for office?
Okay, mine is a two-part answer.
Okay.
First, while I was working,
What was
I
you
was
working
I was working at Allstate Insurance, and I was a part of the political action group there. So that was my first taste of politics, kind of, because I was actually on the student council when I was in high school. So when I retired in 2000 and something, I thought I was going to sit back and relax and enjoy life. And I noticed that we did not have anybody on the city council that lived east of 17th Street. We had one. We had had Roosevelt Williams for almost 20 years. And when I looked up and saw that he was retired, I asked everybody I could think of to run for city council. Everybody said no.
Mhm.
So then I thought, well, I'm asking everybody else to do what I should be able to do. So I ran. And that was my beginning. I ran 3 times before I was elected. And then I was elected from 2006 to 2018.
Wow. Very good. All right.
The same question?
Yeah. You don't have to give the same answer. I mean, you can.
No. So the reason I ran, because I always said, when I was a little girl, I always kind of imagined to be in politics, but I was like, oh no, that's too much, because I knew how my attitude was back in the day. Then I said, you know what? No, they need strong women in politics. So when I retired and moved back to Banning, I found out Debbie didn't want to rerun. So she became my mentor. And first she asked my sister. My sister told her, nope, I already know somebody wants to run. And she told me, my sister told her me. And she said, what? Colleen? Really? Never been in politics in my life. But like I tell people, I'm not a politician for government. I'm a politician for the people.
Wow.
It means a tough act to follow. I'm already familiar with that, but I'll give it a try. I had no interest in politics, never thought I would run. And I was approached to run. I had started a grassroots action group in my living room that had become very popular and was working hard. And I had a lot of people that approached me and said, would you run for council? And that was about 2013, 14. And I said, no, and I turned it down. But the city of Beaumont has its own unique story. We had a historical amount of malfeasance that was going on within the city of Beaumont. And it was getting apparent to me. And so I said, well, what the heck? I can be treasurer and I can look at everything and I can raise issues and I can pick up the phone and call important people because that I can do that because I didn't want to do politics. And so I ran for treasurer, which everybody said, you know, that was not a powerful position, but it had the power that I wanted it to have. So I did it. And I did that for 2 years. And then I got approached again and I went ahead and ran for council. When I ran for council, I was really not experienced in running for office or any of that organizing or campaigning. And I was shocked. I was the highest vote getter. And with a very, very bare bones budget, with taking pretty much $20 from my neighbors here and there and everywhere. So then in 2018, I became mayor. And the whole thing was a big experience for me because at the time there was a lot going on in Beaumont. So it was pretty much a hands full job. Thank you.
Okay, so mom, forget a page, had been in redevelopment on the redevelopment committee, and she'd been in she'd been involved in lots of different organizations and had been president of these different organizations and such. And one of the council members at the time had to resign. I'm not sure what the situation was, but he had to resign, or he did resign. And mom was approached to be appointed, and she accepted. And then from there, she would run, she ran the rest of the time she ran. But my mother was always interested in politics, mostly because she'd been born, she was raised under Hitler and saw what was going on there. And when she was 14, she went to England. My grandparents sent her there to protect her. And she said she remembered seeing all the rallies and the speeches in Hyde Park. And it just, and her father was an attorney, and she had wanted to be an attorney, but she wasn't allowed to go to college because she was Jewish. So anyway, so it was from there, it was history as far as she just continued to do more things in the city and around the community.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'll go in reverse order online because I skipped over Danielle. I'm so sorry.
There's Danielle.
Okay, so it's my turn.
Yep.
All right, thank you. Although I think Barbara is before Daniela, but it's all good. No, my husband and I were always involved in politics, more in the background. We were running campaigns, which we still do, by the way, and we always were involved in local politics. And we always told people, hey, you can't just complain about stuff, but not be willing to step up. If you want to complain, then also step up, because it's a hard job that the people are doing, especially if you're in front of everyone. So I was actually called on that. And I was told by some of my friends and my neighbors, like, well, Daniela, why don't you do it? I was like, well, I don't know. It's like, well, you always say that you need to step up and you can't just complain about it. So my husband was on the school board at the time. I was like, you know what? You're right. I can't just preach to others, but not be willing to step up and do it myself. At the time, we had a big debate with our neighbors and my friends, in the community about cannabis. And you have to have a vision for your city. And it was always deemed as being not business friendly. And I wanted to change that. And that's why it's like, okay, I'll step up. I go and put my name in it. If I get elected, I get elected. If not, then I won't. Then it wasn't meant to be. And yeah, so I put my name in and I was elected and I came in and I tried to do the best that I could. But it's a lot harder being in front of people than being working in the background with them.
Brenda?
Yeah, so the first time I had an interest in politics per se, I was actually in high school, and I had a teacher from my AVID program. I don't know if any of you are familiar with AVID, Advanced via Individual Determination, but I'm a product of AVID and Upward Bound. And those programs that believed, students like myself could go to college if we had a little extra push. And he encouraged me to run for office for the student body president or vice president. And I'd always thought about it, but I never really had the courage to do it. I was kind of scared, but when someone else encouraged me to do it and they believed in me, and I thought, well, maybe I should try. And so during that election, I went to speak to some of the classes, specifically the ESL classes, English second language classes, and let them know, hey, there's an election, you guys should get involved, you should vote. And, in the best Spanish that I could. I'm not perfect, but I do try. I understand most, but when it comes to speaking, I try. But I did. I went to speak to those students, and I was reminded by the teachers at the time, they don't vote on the elections. And I thought that was awkward. That didn't make sense because they're part of the student body like everyone else. And so a couple of the teachers and I went to speak to the principal, and from then on, those kids in the ESL classes were able to vote. And something so small, but my instructor said, well, who do you think like your mayors or your elected officials are? That's what they do out there. They advocate for people who don't have a voice sometimes. And at that point, I just knew that's what I wanted to do and stay involved somehow. And then shortly after, my parents relocated to the Banning Beaumont area. And so our whole family relocated to be near my grandparents in Beaumont. And I tried to get involved. I was actually a college student. I was 22 years old and called a lot of the women's groups, and I didn't get any calls back. I probably made a handful of calls to get involved and volunteer. And then I saw the ad in the paper to run for office. And I thought, why not? I've always wanted to do this. Why not? And so I went down to City Hall and pulled my papers to run. And I have no regrets. That was the best thing and best experience. At the time, being in college, and so going to school full time, working part time. But it was, we're talking history, like being the first Latina ever elected in the city of Banning, one of the youngest in California. It was an honor to be able to serve and to see that the Banning voters were forward thinking and saying, it doesn't matter about age, doesn't matter about race. Is the person really, really willing to work hard for us and fight for the things that we care about? Then let's put her in. And, I knew it was kind of a long shot, but I came in third place. And, at election night, we were at the Register of Voters. I didn't know how to read the election paperwork they're giving you on who's getting how many votes. And so I'm looking down at the sheet, and it said, 20 or 30 of 30 precincts were counted. And then I was in third place. Well, I'm looking at it, not knowing what that meant. And someone said, that means you're elected. So it was quite the experience.
How old were you when you were elected?
It was either 22 or 23. I started at 22, but I believe when we were sworn in, I was 23.
Oh my gosh. And you said you were one of the youngest in California that was elected?
Yeah, so it was quite the honor to be able to go to several conferences and talk to other students or go to high schools and remind them, hey, if you're 18 and you can vote, you can run, or you can think about running and getting involved.
Amazing.
And I remember the first time Brenda came to the Rotary Club, and who was it? The woman who was president of the club at the time asked me if I would kind of sit with you or something. And so, and you were introduced as that you were running for city council. And I said, so is this just for a class? You know, are you doing this to write a paper or something? She said, no. So
Yeah.
that was fun, a fun memory.
Or like sometimes if I was introduced by, like, let's just say I was at the city council meeting as a candidate, they would just say, oh, this is Brenda Salas, the student. I was like, great. Or
it worked.
my actual first city council meeting, one of my colleagues, another female, questioned if I had if I was allowed to vote.
Wow.
And the city attorney replied, she's elected just like the rest of you. So yes, she may be voting tonight.
So bad. So I had moved with my then husband, Bill Sheldon, to Banning in 1985. My two girls were just turned 1 and 3. And I had my son who was 13. And I was able to be a stay-at-home mom for a while. And so I have a master's in public administration from Cornell. And so there was an opening on the Banning City Council, just like when Brenda first was interested. And so I thought, I'll apply, you know. So that I think 8 men and myself applied, and we went to the city council meeting, and it was one of those 2-2, one person had stepped down. So there were 4 people on the council, and it was a 2-2 council. They couldn't make a decision. So when they finally figured out they weren't gonna replace that person, we were all standing up ready to leave when the reporter from the Record Gazette said, oh, would you all mind waiting outside on the steps? I'd like to take photos and ask you a few questions. And my first impulse was to run. And then I looked around and I'm like, well, why should I run? And so I stayed and then decided to run for city council. And again, I had no thought that I would get elected. You know, it's not known particularly, it's involved with the Methodist Church and some things, but I decided right off the bat I was going to go door to door to 3,000 homes. And I did. But even still, people still didn't know me when I was going to door until Stagecoach Days. So we had the parade, of course, and I applied to be in the parade. And I said, we got one of Chuck Chappell's old cars, and we all, the whole family dressed in 1940s outfits. And they said, sure, you can do it. And I said, well, can I just put my name on the car? I know you can't campaign, but can I put my name on the car? And they said, yeah, sure. So we're in the parade. And I can't think of his name. This old fellow who'd been on the city council before.
Burgess?
No, not Burgess. Mark Hendon's father. So what was Mark's father? Claude Hendon, that's it. Claude Hendon was on parked in his old jalopy looking at the parade go by. And when he saw the car that I was in with Barbara Hanna on it, or Barbara Sheldon actually, he got irate and he drove out into the parade and pulled out in front of our car, and you know, it's like, whatever, okay. And the Stagecoach Days people had to stop the parade, and they got the police, and they were trying to convince Claude to get out of the parade, and he wouldn't do it. And I'm going like, I don't care. And so the parade went on. Well, it was headlines in the paper. So from then on, going door to door, people, hey, you're that woman. So it worked. Yes, I'll stop there. But again, I didn't think that I would be elected. I thought maybe I could contribute to the community's understanding of the city's finances. That's what I thought I might do, but went elsewhere.
So you knocked on 3,000 doors?
I did, and I did every time I won an election. I went to 3,000 homes. So
How
if I
long
didn't get to your home, I got to your neighbor's home or your cousin's home, and they said, this crazy woman came to my house. But if people see you, they usually vote for you.
Wow. How long did that take you?
As much time as I had. I'd work until dark, you know, once the time changed in the fall. It's hard work, but I loved it. When I decided not to run again in 2012, that's the thing I missed the most, is going door to door. Because you had this glimpse into a person's life and who they are, and you know, possibility of interaction.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so our second question is, what was the main motivating factor that made you decide to run?
We kind of discussed that, but
Well, I guess you kind of did, yeah. Yeah, you said, yeah, you said. So you may have already answered number 2. So if you did, that's fine. We go to 3. So before you were elected, what did you think holding office was going to be like? And did it meet or exceed your expectations?
Before I ran, I really wasn't thinking about running. And I had been on the Parks and Rec Committee, and then I was on the Planning Commission. And I knew that there was a lot of reading involved. But the one thing I found with being on the council was when you're on committees, you have a heck of a lot of reading to do because every committee has an agenda. And to be ready for every meeting, you have to read the agenda. So that was one thing that was different. And then because my family is not political in any sense of the word, I think that what I thought it was going to be like was very similar to the Planning Commission. It was not. It was getting involved in a lot of different things that I had never been involved in before. So it wasn't what I expected, but I would say it did meet my expectations when I had a better understanding of what the council was involved with and what it could do. I found that, especially being an African-American, people don't take you seriously, but it's a very serious position. And it doesn't matter what color you are, what age you are. They take you serious when you say, I'm on the city council, most of the time.
So number 3.
So what did I think about? I thought about just trying to change banning. That's what my expectations was, to try to come in here and just that everybody came together on city council. That was my thing, my first expectation. My second expectation was to make sure that not just the 5th district, but the whole city of Banning, we would have what we wanted here. The reason I really ran is because I ran when I was a little kid. So I'm a 4th generation of Banning. My great grandparents were the second Black family here, and my dad was the first African American kid to go to elementary school, which was Harvard School. So when I was a kid, we had 2 grocery stores here. So I'm like, when I would come home on the weekend, I'm like, well, man, what's happening? When I was in college, my mom was like, hey, the grocery stores are gone. So I always said, if I retire and come back home, which I did, I said, I'm gonna fight for us a grocery store, because back then it was only probably 9,000 people, and it was no problem having 2 grocery stores here. It was Alpha, Betas, and Safeway. So my thing was, we have elderly people in Bannon, and it's hard for them to get out to Albertsons or Food for Less. So that's why I ran, and I'm still fighting for grocery stores. So that was my expectation. And also, I knew it would be a lot of reading because Debbie gave me a lot of books. So I knew it was going to be a lot of reading. That's one thing I do. I read my agendas to make sure if I don't understand, I'll talk to staff before Tuesday, because I don't want to get there Tuesday and people like, why she ask these questions? She didn't read her agenda, which people do that. No, I read my agenda. Plus, on top of that, I'm in a lot of committees that I got appointed to. And like she says, agendas, and it's a lot of reading in this. And if you're not the type that like to read, then I don't know what to tell you, because you got to know what's going on. You have to ask questions. Don't sit there and don't ask questions. I don't care if my question is stupid. I'm going to ask it, So that was my expectations.
My expectation, I went to council meetings before I ran for anything. So the council meetings, again, Beaumont was in a unique position. Some of the council meetings seemed like they were looking at their watch and seeing how quickly they could get through it. It was amazing to me. There would be so many issues that were so important, and they'd all sort of nod, and then they'd all go move on. And I mean, sometimes I'd block out time, and I couldn't believe I was back home in like 45 minutes. I'm like, what the heck is going on? going on here? So, I know. So when I ran, I said to myself, or when I was looking at politics, I said, that's not the way it should be. And so then I got elected. And that was not the way it was after I got elected, especially because of the position that Beaumont was in at the time. I mean, we had meetings that would go till 1 in the morning.
Wow.
Truly. And you really had to know your stuff, and you were really dealing with critical issues. Beaumont was on the edge at the time of being bankrupt. And boy, if you didn't do the right thing in those meetings, and even when I was treasurer, it was the same thing. No, you know, everybody thought they could breeze over the finances, and you know, it was, I dug in as much as I could. And so politics, what it looked like before I ran was different than what I jumped into. And but the other thing that happened at the same time, Beaumont was in so much turmoil. So boy, you know, everything was serious. Every place you went, people in the grocery store would ask you, you know, like, what was going to happen to the city of Beaumont, neighboring cities. You know, what the heck are you guys doing over there? So it was a real hotbed, and I did know that when I was going in. I didn't know it was going to be quite as long and extensive. We had 5 of our former city staff at very, very high levels that basically ran the city that were arrested. I was chair of the audit committee. The day that my auditors showed up to work was the day that they came and took all the boxes out of City Hall with the assistance of standing by just to make it orderly of the feds at the time.
Wow.
It just, so yeah, no, I didn't expect that. I did not. The auditor called me and said, I hate to tell you, but, and it was a wild ride. So I expected it to be tough. Nobody could have predicted that. We had a former council member who actually ended up getting off the council and getting arrested and going to jail, and then being convicted of 2 counts. One of the counts was perjury against me. And I had to meet with the DA and go through that. None of that was expected. So it was like I'd come home from a meeting, my husband would say, oh, what happened? I would say, tomorrow, we'll start tomorrow. Maybe by the end of the day, I can tell you how the meeting went. It was more than I expected. I don't regret a single minute of it, because when you sign up for something like that to represent the people, you take whatever comes, you do whatever you can, you do the best you can. And if something changes the next day and it's more challenging, that's the way it is when you sign up.
Since I haven't experienced that. But I know that Mom, like Colleen, she wanted to better the city. She, you know, and like Nancy, I mean, the whole thing, there had been, like I say, a councilman who had to resign and everything. But I think Mom always treated everybody the way she wanted to be treated. She wanted to be respected, and being the first woman, the men, like Debbie said, you know, they don't take you seriously. And so I think she had to toughen herself up, and she still wanted to be a lady, but she wanted to let the boys know that she could play the game, you know, and she did. And she went on, like I said, to do several other things, like Brenda probably knows that, you know, she started the Riverside Community Action Agency and started several different things. And after her terms and things, I think people realized that women can do the job just as well as men, if not even better, you know.
All right, Daniela, still there?
Yes. So it's similar, like, you know, it was very that I had. A lot of committees, I actually had to down on work, my personal work, my paying job, day job, because there were so many committees. The agenda, you have to read everything, and you have to come in with questions. So, can you hear me?
Okay, it's better now.
Can
Coming
you hear
out.
me? Oh, okay. So, like I said, I actually went from a full-time position down to a part-time position, so I can be more available and do my work and read all the agendas and be there. And I had well, before I got elected, even though I was working with political campaigns in the background, but I was under the impression I can go in there and I can say whatever I want to say. And I was actually told by the lawyer and the city manager at a time, on numerous occasions, they say, yeah, you cannot say this, you cannot say that. We have weekly meetings, but in order to go over the agenda and just ask.
Oh, we just lost her. Sorry. All right. Oh, she's coming back. Hang on, everybody.
Seems I'm constantly losing you guys.
Yeah, can we come back to you?
Maybe if you cut your video.
Yeah, try cutting
we
your
could hear
video.
you.
Is that better?
Yes, much better.
All right. Sorry about that. So anyways, I was constantly told about that I cannot say certain things. And every time that I was on the dais and I wanted to express my feelings and what I thought about a certain subject, the entire time I had that voice in my head, oh, well, you can't say that because then Diddy is liable and you say this and you can't. So it was.
We lost her again. All right, we'll come back to her. Maybe she'll get into a better spot and we'll get her sound back. Daniela, we're gonna come back to you. If you get to a better spot after Barbara and Brenda go, then we'll try again.
All right. Sounds good.
Okay, go ahead, Barbara.
I guess I wasn't too surprised about how it actually worked. You know, Banning is a very complex town. It's a lot of people outside Banning don't understand it, or even I suppose some residents don't realize with water and electricity and the airport and when I was on the council redevelopment, and it's a very complex business. And I really enjoyed learning about each of those areas and working with the rest of the council. I think the other thing that it's not a surprise to me, but it's really true that you don't run as an individual. I mean, you as an individual, I as an individual can't do anything. You know, the only way that anything can happen is if there's a majority on the council that agrees with you. If I can, the first city council I sat on, 1986, there had been, I don't know, earthquake, fire. The old city hall was in bad shape. We had to make a decision. Did we go through it as treat it as an emergency and not go through a bidding process, or do we go through a bidding process and to get it torn down, et cetera? And I thought we should go through a bidding process because that's the proper way that government should work, that you don't just hand it off to somebody, you go through this. But I could hear the rest of the council and I wasn't in the majority. And so the lawyers said, well, you have to have findings, you know, that will substantiate why you're doing this emergency process. So I started helping develop these findings. And Marge Lawrence on the city council said to me, why are you doing this, Barbara? You're against it. And I said, yeah, but I want it to be the best decision. Whatever the decision is, I want it to be the best decision it can be. So I felt very fortunate, especially in a time from 2002 to 2012, that there was a majority of the council that had a very similar vision. And so it made it much easier to, you know, work together and to come to decisions and kind of move in the same direction. And I really I really enjoyed it very much.
Okay, Brenda?
Yes. So prior to being elected, I didn't have any idea of what to expect. Even when it came to the campaign, let alone getting elected, that was a whole nother story. But I just remember, in the beginning process, during the campaign, there was a women's campaign school at Yale. Unfortunately, I was in college and I couldn't afford that tuition to go to that school, but I got all the books. And I have to say, I read the books and they helped me through that campaign, but there's no book that can school you for what happens after you get elected. They can help you get elected on the basics of walking and doing the precinct part. But after I was elected, I knew there was one thing, and that was I wanted to accomplish some things and feel like the time I was going to spend there would be worth it, and for myself and for the people who put me there. I took that job really seriously. Even if that meant, late nights, council meetings, reading in between work and school, not having a social life. But it was worth it. And at the end, I think you mentioned like motivating factors. Well, for me, my motivating factors were really the kids and the safety. So the kids, meaning like the kids in our neighborhood who were helping me, put flyers out or walk precincts, they were saying there's nothing for us to do. They're asking us to raise money for a skate park, or the pool's been closed, the last couple summers. We have nowhere to swim. We have nowhere to go. We don't have pools in our backyard. Like, what can we do? And so my motivation was focusing on how do we get those done so that the kids have something, whether it's, fixing up the theater so they still have a theater in town, or doing the pool so it's actually open when they need it, and building that skate park. So I would say, those things really help motivate me through. Were my expectations exceeded? Yes and no. I wanted to do more, but I feel like we got plenty that I had on my bucket list, but not everything. But as we all know, government isn't as fast as we want it to be at times. And as Barbara mentioned, it takes 5. So it's building that consensus and getting everyone to work together for that common goal and sharing that vision. Sometimes we have a vision in our mind, but it's how do we share, and then how do we come up with a plan to actually execute that vision?
Awesome. Okay, we'll go back to Daniela. Are you there?
Yeah, I hope I don't lose signal. I am so sorry about that. I'm part of the UCR Ambassadors Program, and we have a meeting today, plus our quarter started 2 days ago. So I was driving here and I'm right now in the parking lot. So if we lose the signal, I'm just going to email you the answers to the questions, if that's okay.
That's okay. We can hear you just fine now.
All right. So like I said before, my expectation, yeah, it wasn't quite the same because I wasn't allowed to say a lot of this that I wanted to say, but I still accomplished a little bit that I wanted to accomplish, specifically cannabis, put it on the ballot, bring it to the community. And I also, like Barbara, I didn't go to 3,000 homes, but I did go around my neighborhood. I knocked on doors and I did wanted to get their input and get their opinion and ask them like exactly, hey, what is it that you want to see in the city? What is it that you want me to accomplish if I'm going to be elected? And we got this past 2018, not quite the language I wanted to, but that was that direction. And just moving and to make a difference. And we changed the seal, make it more to update it, which was also a huge success. I think everyone that I spoke with, they definitely liked it. And just being part of the community and representing their needs and their wants. So like I said, that was not quite, I wasn't able to say everything I wanted on the dais. I was constantly stifled.
Okay, so this would be question 4. We'll combine the last 2, but how long did you serve? What was your most significant event that happened when you were serving as mayor?
Okay, as I served it for mayor for 3 years, There were a lot of significant events that happened while I was on city council. I think just the fact that we survived as a
Wow.
city,
Wow.
because this was when the fiscal condition of the whole country had dropped. And as one person put it, we weren't cutting to the bone, we were cutting into the bone. And knowing from day to day, we didn't know how many jobs we were going to be able to save. And just the fact that we survived, I think, was a significant event. One other thing I want to say that was a significant event was the great separation at Sunset. We had it out as a project for 20 years. And it wasn't until we went to the Riverside County Transportation Commission, they took it on and we completed a project that was sorely needed for the city. So that was my significant event that I can remember. You know, when you get a certain age, everything is yesterday.
I knew she was gonna say that.
And everything's significant.
So during when I was mayor, what happened was COVID. So that hit when I was mayor. So that was a challenge, trying to get things done. But I did get some things done while I was the mayor, and while I was in the COVID stage, with, you know, COVID was out there. My term is in November, but I'm going up for re-election. I'm going to rerun because I haven't accomplished what I want to accomplish for myself. My biggest thing is, I tell people, you know, when I was growing up, it might have been diversity here, division, and now it's really noticeable. And I'm always honest, I don't like it. We need to all come together because we're one city. We're not, this is over here and this is over there. That's not how it works, because if we want this town to grow and look better and make more money, we have to all come together. We have to hear everybody, you know, tell us what you want, but sometimes it might not happen like that. You know what I'm saying? We have big decisions to make being on city council. So my thing is, I had a big challenge in 2021, which was COVID. But you know what? I wouldn't give this up for the world. I wouldn't give it up for the world.
And you had a lot going on. A lot.
Okay, yeah, we were infamous, we really were, and it wasn't, you know, in a good way. Okay, so the most significant thing, it's financial, but I have to say, financial is a good layer to put on it, but the only reason we have government is to serve the people and give the people the services that they need to be able to bring their kids up, go to their jobs, travel on roads that are paved, flush their toilets, get clean water. That's the purpose of government, is to provide services to the people. It's not to push electeds around at rubber chicken dinners. And so Beaumont, because it was on the edge of bankruptcy, it was going through the pain that Debbie mentioned, which is we had to downsize on staff, et cetera. All the cities did. They were all doing that. And that was tough. It was tough for every city. But then we also had the financial malfeasance where we had, there's no other way to put it.
Yeah.
But, so what I mean by that is we were also on the edge of losing the grip that we had on infrastructure, which meant that the city and the residents were going to really be. We had a wastewater treatment plant that was no longer able to keep up with the growth of the city. And when you have that, it's a building block for people to be able to live their lives. And and we were concerned about pollution if we weren't able to do it. We're concerned about the residents who had been there a long time, the residents who were coming in, And that bubble of growth hurt us. We were at a time where we weren't running the city well. So we went to, we had a great city manager, and you know, it wasn't me, it was really good city staff that struggled hard and a good council that worked real hard. And we ended up going to the market with bonds that were able to fund a new wastewater treatment plant. And if we couldn't have done that, not only would the city have had all of the issues, the arrests, the trials, the, you know, lost our credibility, we would have literally had the infrastructure crushed. So it was tremendous. We went from being on the edge of bankruptcy to, I was mayor at the time. I went with a team from the city, excellent staff, up to San Francisco. We talked to Standard & Poor's, and it was like speed dating. We went from one agency to another, commercial to rate our bonds. And I went in the room with the best staff. I couldn't believe it. They were so terrific. And I thought I was window dressing. Yeah, I went with my folder and I thought they're going to want to talk to the experts. And I couldn't believe it. In almost every meeting, they'd start with the experts and then they'd say to me, you tell me about the city and you tell me why this is important and why you think you can handle this. And I was like, the first time it happened in one of the meetings, I was just rum. My staff knows more about so many of these details than me, but they're all looking at me. And so I told our story, and I told our story honestly, and I told our story of who we were and how far we had come. And I talked about what great staff we had, and you know, and all of the things that were good about the city that had been sort of polished during the years after we turned the lights on and got a few bugs out. And I couldn't believe it. We came back and we ended up launching and getting $100 million in bonds at A+ rating from Standard & Poor's, and going from near bankruptcy to that in like about 3 to 4 years was absolutely amazing. I mean, you know, it was like a knuckle bearing going up there and hoping that we could pull this off for the residents, and we did. And so, and I'm still reading the great press now of where that wastewater treatment plant is going to take the city to recycled water, to be able to conserve water for the whole region because it won't draw from the water table. I mean, so that was the single factor. But the cornerstone to that was we got our credibility back. And that really was where we won.
That'll probably be a tough one for me to answer because, you know, there's a lot of things. I know that Debbie and Mom were friends, and so Debbie may know some things that Mom, but I do know that when she was on the council, he was instrumental in bringing Sun Lakes into the area. So that was probably one of the big things that I can say. Other than that, you know, and like I say, I wasn't here some of the time. I was off of college, and so I'm sure there was a lot of things that were, you know, important to her. But I do know Sun Lakes was one of the big things that she was proud of, that they brought the you know, that the council was able to bring in. So, was there anything else that maybe she mentioned to you?
That was before yesterday.
Yeah.
Not offhand. I'll remember tomorrow.
Yeah, I know how that is.
I can't. I'll think about it for a second.
Okay. Okay, we'll go back online. Well, let's reverse order this time. Brenda, what was your significant event when you were mayor?
Sure. Well, I mean, there were several milestones, but the one that comes to mind that was kind of controversial was breaking ground on our police department, the new building, and making sure that our officers had a state-of-the-art building that they could recruit good officers, good police chiefs for years to come. and knowing that, trying to see ahead 10, 20 years, that the prices were going to double, triple, if not go 4 or 5 times higher. And if we didn't do it now, even though it was a big commitment at the time, it would never happen for banning. And having a presence in the downtown to show that we were serious about safety. There was a time, and I don't know if it still exists, but where absolutely no one wanted to even drive to the downtown. They would even tell each other, it was like a whisper campaign, don't drive downtown Banning, it's not safe. Buildings were boarded up, almost every one. And you didn't know there was a police station behind the streets because it was kind of, it was behind City Hall, instead of having that presence in the downtown close to the movie theater where everyone goes on the weekends. And so that council at the time, we came together and said, and it was not easy. There was a lot of deliberation, a lot of hours and meetings spent back and forth as to, should we move ahead with this? And it wasn't done lightly, but I absolutely believe that was the best decision at the time and now, because if you want to recruit additional business, you have to have a safe environment for them to be in. Not only that, but the people who live there should feel safe to walk in their own downtown and not have to go to Redlands or to Palm Springs. Why shouldn't you feel comfortable using your own movie theater? And in partnering with those businesses and using redevelopment dollars at the time to do the facades, to do the paint. Paint goes a long way and doesn't cost a whole lot. And it was nice to see the business community come together, the Chamber of Commerce, the City Hall, the police department, and including, looking at outside resources and how do we partner? And that meant like looking at our state representatives, looking at the county and saying, hey, how can you help us accomplish some of these goals? Even if it meant funding some of the resources needed, funding some of the officers. And we did things a little differently than a lot of other cities did at that time to fund some of these pieces. But I'm happy that we did. And we can look back and say, wow, it did make a difference. But again, it's a vision, but how do you get it to that final piece? I wasn't on the council when the ribbon cutting happened and the actual police doors open for the new department, but I can look back and say, good job, everyone, really.
Amazing. Daniela, are you still there?
I'm here. Just
Okay,
waiting.
all right. Just checking. All right, go ahead.
I think the most significant thing that happened was that we brought cannabis and were able to put it on the ballot and listen to the community while they're passing it. The renewal of seal, I'm very proud of that we updated our city seal. The beautification of Banning, which we worked together with Debbie, and we got the alleys downtown. We heard the same thing that, oh, well, it's dangerous and to go down, and we tried to see people's opinions about that. If you make meeting, people will come. And so we did that. We started while I was on council, and I started and collaborating with different agencies, with the Chief of Commerce, with the old and the members of the Chief of Commerce. Was a standing member on every time they had a meeting. I was very vocal with a strong partnership and a lot of stuff. In 20 when I was mayor.
Oh, I lost you. Oh, all right. We might have to get. Oh, she's back. We might have to get her to send in those answers, unfortunately. Daniela,
I will. So let me wrap it up real quick before I get blocked up again. So anyways, COVID happened and we worked with the chamber and we did brainstorming. What can we do in order to service our community better? So we brought the Feeding America, and we put together like 23 food giveaways together with the chambers in order to serve our community. So that was very significant. One other thing I do want to mention about Colleen, Mayor Wallace, while she was there, she was actually the only mayor and the only one that was trying to service the lower income community by bringing through the county a program in where they can have some assistance in paying their bills. So Colleen, you should mention that a little bit because that never happened, and that was really, really great.
Okay, we heard you much better the second time. All right, Barbara?
You know, there's a lot of overlap, especially in the 2000s with Brenda and Debbie and I. So yes, the underpass, Sunset. You took a lot of my talk away, Brenda, because you said a lot of the things that I was going to talk. But I'll start with the 86 to 90 period. Probably there are a lot of significant issues that were going on there. But the one I'll pull out is the City Hall. So we had moved the City Hall down Ramsey. I don't remember what that shopping center was called. Now understand, this is 50 years ago, 40 years ago, when this happened, and that shopping center was empty, but or a great deal of it was empty, but that's where City Hall was, and it was functional. It worked, I thought, fine, and there was plenty of parking. So when the prospect of building a new City Hall came up, I wasn't 100% for it. I mean, I was really reluctant. It's a huge, you don't like to take on debt, but Chuck Freeman of the Record Gazette came and spoke to me privately, and he said, one of the hardest things for cities to do is to invest in major infrastructure, and the City Hall is a major infrastructure, and it's a decision that will last, for a very long time, and I really think you should support it. And so I thought about it some more and agreed that we should go ahead and do that. So that City Hall was built there. The police station was the groundbreaking, not the groundbreaking, the grand opening was February 2010, and that was a great event. But understand, expensive as it was, and I think there were some things that were done improperly or not the best way, perhaps. Brenda was kind of alluding to that. But it was actually a third smaller than the police chief at that time wanted it to be. He was quite grandiose in his thinking, and so at least it wasn't as bad as it could be. And I guess from the 2000s, what I am most proud of is Brenda was talking about is the revitalization of downtown. And there was a moment in time when we had 5 art galleries. We had an artist co-op that started, that still is going on, I believe. That we had festivals downtown, the Phineas Festival, the Art Hop. There were things going on all the time. And I think what's the name of it? The Haven was, I think, one of the most, and the Fox. I mean, they were both such beautifully redone. I was so proud. Anyone could come into the Haven and really say, this is a great place to be. And I volunteered there at times, and people would come in from out of town and they'd go like, what a great place. So I was very pleased that the council had this common vision to revitalize our downtown. And I understand afterwards and that the economics of the city and of our country has been difficult to fill all those buildings, but they look a lot nicer, and they will be filled as time goes on, I'm sure, and have been filled at times. So anyway, that's what I'm proud of.
All right. I'm gonna combine number 5 and 6 because we're coming on our hour, which is, since you've been mayor, what does politics mean to you? And has your perspective changed? And then what would you say to other women or people not in politics who may want to become politicians?
That's multiple questions.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Since I've been mayor and even being on the city council, politics have meant a lot more. When they say politics are, but politics are all local. It reminds me every time some issue comes up, it's political. no matter what you do, there's politics at the base of it. And
You should
what,
pay your mic more.
up here?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, and it tells me too, as mayor, you have to think beyond tomorrow.
Right.
You have to think 5 years, 10 years from now, what you want to see, what direction you want things to go into. And you don't want to forget the people, that people are always the base. No matter what you do, people are always there. And I was trying to remember something else that Brenda told me, and we had lots of conversations. One thing was like water. Water was not that big a deal when I first found out about it.
Yeah.
But water is the essence of survival, no matter where you are. And even though it's been over 25 years and coming along, we just heard that the flume, through a meeting, the town hall meeting that Colleen had, the flume is finally getting resolved. And that's one of those things that it may not be that big a deal. And the rest of the council, when we were going through it, said, well, you know, we're spending way too much money, let it go. That's the essence of the survival for Banning. So what I would tell anybody that's interested in politics, I would say first get a mentor. Don't get one, get 2 or 3, and get somebody that has experience. May not be somebody that you really like, but you know, you need somebody to kind of walk you through the different steps that you need to go through, because like they said earlier, there is no book on what you need to do, what you need to know once you get into politics. And once you get a friend, talk honestly with them. Talk about those things that you don't know. Don't try to just put it off or just go through it like, oh, I'll put this off and I'll be there. No, you need to ask the questions. And once you ask the questions, don't forget the people are the ones that put you there. And they'll take you out.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Say that question, those questions again. Oh, okay.
Sorry.
You combined the 5 and 6.
Yeah.
So what does politics mean to me? Well, it means helping the people to me. Like I said, people like, Colleen, you're a government, you're a politician, blah, blah, blah. Some of the politic things I don't go for. I just don't. And that's why I ran for the people. I want people to understand I ran for them. I do take people's consideration of what they want, you know, but sometimes it's hard because you have to make the call of how you want your city to stay alive. And but like I said, I'm for the people. I work for the people. That's who put me in. Like David said, they'll put you out quick, you know, quick. And but you know, I listen to everyone. I might listen to this side and I listen to this side, and then I draw my own conclusions. Nobody tells me, oh, she's going for that. No, that's not how I go. I want to see when that person, or I'm just going to say like somebody's coming here to make business. I'm going to look you up. I'm going to see what you're talking about compared to, you know, the citizens talking to Colleen, you know, what about this and that? I'm listening, I'm investigating, I'm looking up to see if this is going to hurt our city or not. So basically, as a mayor, that's what I do for the people. I am like Debbie. Even though she didn't know, she was gonna be my mentor anyway. When I found out she wasn't running in 2018, it's good to have people that you know that's been in this 20, 10, 15 years, because they can give you, you know, I politics, I would never think. My mom like, oh my God, Colleen, please, no, I know you're not. Those people are going to make you mad, and I know your attitude. Oh, Mom, I done grew up. That was when I was in high school or something. But, you know, you have to just learn, because people have, just like I have a say, they have a say too. So you just have to grow up and, you know, what would I say to other women in policy? enter. I talk to young kids all the time. I tell them, you know what? Because that's who I focus on, is young kids and the homeless. And I tell them all the time, you guys need to come to city council meetings, because some of you that will go to college might get into this, and you need to know what you're up against if you come to the meetings and see what's going on. So because our kids are the future. They're the ones going to be up on city council. We'll be gone bye somewhere. And so I tell them they need to come, because they're our future. I don't want our town to go downhill. I want us to go uphill.
Okay, what do I think of politics? I wrong one look at the question.
No, that's it. Yeah, yeah.
I think politics is more complex than I thought it was when I looked at it from the outside. I think that you have to pay attention to what your politician, because those are the electeds, to what they do, not always what they say. And that's one of the things I observed being in politics, that I would see people in multiple situations, different groups, and sometimes their message changed based on who they were talking to. And that bothered me. And I didn't realize that so much when I was outside of politics, because I never watched the same person, let's say, go to 2 or 3 different types of meetings. So I believe that you have to be careful and watch what they do, not just what they say, because the proof is in the pudding, in their actions. So they can tell you they're going to do everything for you, and they'll look for some integrity to what they've done. So that was one thing that I learned from the inside. We're in way too divisive a time in politics. It's like, are you on my team or are you on their team? There's no teams.
No.
Colleen said, it's the people. That's the whole reason you're here. And we need to stop putting on our jerseys and thinking we're on a particular team, because we're not. So those are the things I learned about politics. What would I say to people considering running? First of all, get in early. You're going to know more about politics. You're going to learn a lot more. Find a politician that you really do, when you watch them, you believe a lot of integrity in what they do, and figure out how to get involved with their committee, with what they're doing. You'll learn a lot. You'll see a lot of the insider stuff, and you'll learn the mechanics. I want to speak to Banning. You should be very proud. You have a lot of women that have been in politics. Beaumont, not so much. And I have to tell you, as Colleen would say, I'm going to get real here. I'd sit there on the council and I'd have a hot flash. I'd sit there and I'd say, well, there's nobody on my team here that's ever one for myself. And I'd have to just sit there. So if there's not more women in politics, you're going to have women that were in situations much worse probably than mine, where there's not enough team members that have any type of understanding of. Over 50% of the population is female. Heck, we need more elected females.
Yeah, woo!
Now, I don't mean we need unqualified elected females, but we need more elected females. I heard a statistic that a man has to be asked once to think about running, and a woman has to be asked 7 times. There is something inherently wrong with that. So women out there, if you're inclined to be civic oriented, you care about your community, you think you have something to offer, think more seriously, think younger, get involved, don't second guess yourself, give something a try, put your foot out there. Now, you guys do the same thing, but like it or not, we need more women in politics. They have a different way of looking at things. They have all of the qualities that are going to make them good. And, and men, if you're involved in politics, make sure you're inclusionary with someone when they enter politics and they're not in the locker room with you. You know, a lot of environments, banning obviously not so much, Caduce to banning. A lot of other cities, I won't name any close to me. Not all of them make the women feel inclusionary. So if you guys out there, if you've been involved in politics, you do a better job. You do a better job of making sure that everybody knows it's one team and that it's one team for the citizens. There's one team for the citizens that put you there, and not just so that you can feel like you're any kind of a big cheese, male or female. You're there for the people.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, I know Mom would agree with both Nancy and Colleen, well, and Debbie as well. When she got in the council, it was in the early 70s, and there weren't a lot of women. In fact, there were no women on the banning council, and she had a hard time. The men made it very difficult for her. Claude Hendon being one of them, Barbara. But she went in because she was civic minded. She cared about the community, and she wanted to show women that they could be empowered. They needed to step up, and that was one of her things. She wanted to help women. Women helping women was very important to her. She was a optimist. That was their motto, is women helping women. And again, women think things differently than men do. Men are more fix-it oriented. Women tend to analyze and you know, and you need both, because like I said, 50% of the population. So men and women should run. It has been an all boys club for a long time, and now women are stepping up, and that's good. And like I said, that's what Mom was really important to her, to help other women, to have them realize their potential, and you know, empower them and have them realize their potential. As far as politics, I think she enjoyed politics essentially, but you know, there's politics in everything.
Yeah.
And this is my own feeling, is that doesn't matter where you're at, where you work. If you work in a hospital, there's politics. If you're in a church, there's politics. So we have to get past that. We have to get past, like Nancy said, the teams, you know, it's them against us, because we're all in this together.
That's right.
You know, so.
We have to work with it.
Exactly. You know, and we're all different. It doesn't matter what race, what creed, what religion, whatever, because we're all the same family. We're, you know, the human family. We're all, and we need to help each other. You know, and that's what it's about. Instead of fighting each other, like Colleen said, let's be unified and the best for the community. And so.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Hey, we'll go back online. Let's see. Yeah, there you go. Go ahead.
So what I would say is, first and foremost, you need to have a thick skin. You cannot take everything personal. People will come up there and they will just yell at you, call you names, put stuff out there about you, slander, whatever, anything that they can think of. And you just have to sit there, take it with a smile and say thank you and forget about it. Just move on. You know, you don't, you know, it is what it is. Make sure you have the means and the time. Like I said before, I was a full-time worker, and I have an excellent supervisor that understood my position and understood what I was doing and was able to work with me. And I went down part-time, but you definitely need to have the time and the means in order to be in politics. You need to understand that you're there as a servant. You're a servant to your community. And you cannot please everybody. If you try to do so, then you have not done your job. You will have people that will come up there and will demand certain things from you, but you can't just give in to them, to those individuals. You know, you have to take the situation one by one and see exactly what it is. And sometimes you're a lone voter, and that's okay. That's okay. You know, but you are there as a servant. And that's what I would say to them. Have a thick skin, make sure you have the means and the time, and understand that you're serving your community.
Absolutely. Okay, let's see. I want to hear from Brenda last because she had the youngest viewpoint. So I want to see if that affects things. So Barbara, go ahead.
But she's matured, so.
That's a nice way of saying I'm old.
No, I'm not one to cast aspersions that way. So, no, everyone has said such wonderful things. Yes, I think if you're interested in running for office, you need to take the time to learn. There's so much to learn. And, you know, in banning, starting with water, like Debbie said, is always a good thing. It's just so significant. It's a limiting factor in terms of future growth, and people need to understand that. So learn, take your time to learn more about your community. It needs to be shared powers that I've talked to some young people in this area, and they're thinking of running for council, for the council or whatever, and they're interested in power, and you go like, what? You know, I mean, it's, yeah, I'm not saying we don't have some power, but on our own, we really don't. It's only when we work together, and it's only when you find others who share the same vision that you have a chance of moving that forward, I think. And then, as Daniela said, have a thick skin. I think one of the things that motivated me, well, just one of the elements motivating me not to run again, was this social media and the nastiness. I mean, there's just incredible nastiness out there. At least I experienced that. Maybe it's gone away, but you just have to ignore it. And I just looked at it like that. You know, try to ignore it and hold to the vision that you hopefully share with a couple of folks on it. Shall I tell you my standard joke? Somebody said, oh, I had to look at this website where it was just a really nasty anti-banning website. And I never did, but I said, okay, I'll go look at it. And they had this picture of me. I look weird, but that's not hard. I mean, none of us are movie stars, right? You know, and you can easily get some stupid looking, you know, face on or something. And they called me an old windbag. And that hurt my feelings. And I went to sleep, and the next morning I woke up and I thought, well, at least they didn't say I was fat. But again, you know, this personality, politics by personality, is ridiculous. It makes no sense. And just speaking along those lines, I think we as women need to, you know, really consider what we say about other women. You know, we need to be careful. It's easy to say, oh, I don't like the way she colors her hair, or whatever, you know, that might be, that we could critique somebody, or we don't like the way they said something. But it's really important to find ways to support each other. If we want women to run for office, if we want women to get elected, we need to be supportive of each other. And that's what I think.
All right.
You still all right with me, Barbara?
Yeah.
Thank you. So nice.
Yeah, about women supporting other women. Yeah, great.
Well, I would just like to say, first of all, that Daniela had a really good those words. That too bad we couldn't play them before every council meeting, because sometimes you really need that. And politics, what does it mean to me to work together to accomplish something? And I think even more now than ever, I mean, everyone needs to learn how to, you may not always win, but how do we get a little bit of something to make it best for the people we serve? And so, I mean, my perspective completely changed, you know, just over the years and being in it. And, you know, what I would tell to someone else is just, you work really hard. I had someone who would often, like, you have to have a lot of mentors, and when you have to think of ways, how do I work with both sides? Well, sometimes you can't listen to everyone on one or the other, but you have to have friends that have completely opposite opinions and opposite views to get to where you're trying to go. Because if you're just listening to a few folks with one perspective, you're going to miss a whole section out there. And the people who voted you in, they're completely different. You know, they represent every walk of life. So how do you get that perspective when you're trying to make a decision? And who do you talk to that can represent those different segments when you're going through these agendas and you're looking at these issues? You know, I'll never forget, I was told, Brenda, you found your chutzpah. And I'm like, what does that mean? You have to have passion. You have to know why you're doing it. Because when people are throwing literally eggs at your face, and when they're disagreeing with you or screaming at you and you know, doing everything they can to hate on you, you have to know why you're there and have that passion in your heart to get you through those moments, because it's not easy. I mean, and so many times society, and you always hear, oh, those politicians, or I'm not a politician, or, you know, oh, I'm an elected official. Well, guess who those people are? They're your neighbors, they're your brothers, your parents, they're us. You know, that's pretty much everybody. I mean, there's good and bad in everything, whether you're a lawyer or a politician. I don't mean to pick on lawyers, but, you know, there's good and bad everywhere. And, you know, knowing why you're doing it, no matter what other people say, because there will always be haters. They may hate on you for how you look. They may hate on you for something you said that you didn't really mean. It just came out and you're like, oh, you know, because you're just talking all the time about issues. So sometimes you may say things people don't like, and your intentions were not that. And, you know, Nancy, you mentioned, you know, look at what they do, not so much what they're saying, but where's their proof in the pudding? Where, you know, actions do speak louder than words. You know, and after being elected, I thought, you know, this is just, it's rough. Let me transition to being a staff person. It doesn't matter who gets the credit. Let's just do the job. And that's just equally as tough, you know, because no matter what venue you're in, people are going to criticize when you're trying to do something right. And someone always thinks they can do it better, or they want to knock you down, and they really want to see you fail. But when you have passion in your heart for what you're doing, it's okay. Like Daniela said, just let it roll. Just let it roll. Because at the end of the day, who I'm thinking about are those kids who are swimming now this summer. I'm thinking about the kids who are using the skate park now, or the families who can go to the theater and not have seats that are falling apart or smelly, you know, because we helped clean it up, you know, or the families who can walk downtown on Friday and Saturdays and feel safe. So, you know, it's a tough and a full contact sport, as we all know. Would most of us do it again? Maybe, maybe not. You know, it's like, but overall, you know, it's just, I'm grateful for the time that I spent there in Banning, and I'll always have a soft spot for Banning, and anything I can do wherever I am, whether I'm here in Nashville or, you know, traveling back and forth, like, I support what you're doing. I thank the library for what you're doing in this history piece. And Banning and Beaumont, you know, there's been a lot of predecessors that have built on this foundation. And I'm happy to see where you all are going with it. So it's been a good few minutes. Thank you all.
I've never met anyone who didn't like being mayor. Is that true, would you say? I love getting out in the community and ribbon cutting or whatever possible kinds of things. What do you think?
I think the awesome thing about being mayor is that I felt like finally people took me seriously. When I was on the city council, it was kind of like, oh, anyone could have got elected. You know, it was kind of, I even had like comments like, and I couldn't believe it, you know, but like in Riverside, oh, she was just elected to a podunk city. I'm just like, really? Do you know how hard it is to get elected? It doesn't matter what city you're from. You know, when people entrust their votes in you, that's a big deal. And for people to downplay it, and I think that sometimes happens more for women or minorities, it's like, oh, well, you're not from a big city. No, we all equally serve and work just as hard, whether we're making money doing it or we're putting money out of our pocket to serve.
Right.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you all.
you to say thank you to Francis.
Yeah.
This was good. And you know, we all learn how to talk. We do talk, but this is good. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Well, I want to give all of you individually heartfelt thanks, just not only on behalf of the library and our director, plus all the staff that are here as well, who help produce the programs and make sure that we're here. And to our reporter from our newspaper, thank you for coming. This has been amazing, and also those online. Oops, someone's in the waiting room. I'm not sure what they're doing. Okay. All right. Those are online. Thank you for sharing your time and your evening with us. And I know it took a lot to be here for some schedules, so we really appreciate it. But I got to say, this is one of the best programs we've had. I mean, it's truly, this has been amazing. Absolutely amazing. And what I'm going to say, maybe a little off cue, is I found this restorative. I found this very restorative. And the reason I say that is because I think no matter where you come from now, if you turn on the TV and you turn on whatever your favorite news channel is, it's horrible. It's horrible. It's depressing. And I think it makes people think that all politics, no matter where it is the same. But all of you individually and your mother, having, been the forefront of this for the city of Banning, really built on the foundation to create an inclusive body of work. And I think from a lot of, public history perspectives, we often see a building, see something that needs renovation or something that was brought up and looks nice, and we just kind of assume it's already there and it's been there forever. And that's not true, because someone took a stand, someone made it happen, someone reached across the aisle and talked to, a bro probably, was probably standing against you and thought they had a better idea, myself included have been there. So I admire all of you very, very deeply. Thank you for what you did. You gave a part of your lives for your cities. And so thank you. Thank you for what you all did.
Oh, that's right, Brenda.
So
Great to be with you.
Thank you. Thank you.
It will be on YouTube coming soon. So if you had a friend or family member that wanted to see this, it'll be on our library page. Want to let you know too, the Friends were selling books in the back, so on important women in history. And then we've also done documentaries on our YouTube page. Go into YouTube and type in Banning Library District. And we did a small documentary about the history of the Fox Theater in downtown, which is going to be quickly celebrating its 100th in a few years. So really important piece to downtown Banning. So check that out as well. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right, we'll see you online. Thank you for coming.
And just if it's okay, in a second, I'm going to bring Tommy in to meet you all.
Yeah.
Okay, one sec.
The 100-year anniversary.
Oh, the centennial, right? Yeah.
Barbara, you did the centennial, right?
Yes, I chaired it.
Yeah, that completely escaped me, but that was a significant event too. It was very significant.
I started organizing it when I was on the city council in 2011. Hey.
Oh, look at the baby. Oh.
Hi.
Okay.
Yes, Brenda.
Can you say bye-bye?
Bye. Bye.
Okay, we'll see you later.
What a cutie.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
We're gonna go to the basement. There's supposed to be maybe a tornado tonight.
Oh, be safe out there. Don't get blown
Thanks.
away.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. You guys are awesome. Oh, I don't want to use the awesome. It just sounds stupid. You guys are so
Centennial, but